Men, women, and children are being bought and sold in modern-day slavery. It's called human trafficking, and it's happening right here in Michigan. Let's talk about it. Welcome to My Healthy Mind. I'm Elizabeth Atkins, and this is my co-host, Michael Hunter. My Healthy Mind is a safe forum for our viewers to come together and learn about issues that have typically been taboo. Issues like mental illness, issues like addiction, issues like obesity and other health problems that people are scared to talk about. But being scared to talk about it makes us clam up and make the problem get worse.
Absolutely.
So we're here to talk about it.
Yes, and I love the phrase talk about it, because here on My Healthy Mind, that's what we do, give people a safe forum, a place where they can feel comfortable bringing it to the forefront, even though it may have been taboo in the past to talk about. We talk about it here on our show.
Yes. Not only are we shattering the silence, but we're providing resources, experts, and real people's triumphant stories that can inspire everyone to get help, seek help, and heal, and be an inspiration to others.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you used the word triumph, because our guests that we have today are going to tell us about how they overcame some trauma associated with trafficking, human trafficking, and how their story is so compelling, it is going to help others heal if they have found themselves facing the same type of dilemmas.
I was shocked to discover that human trafficking is a huge problem in Michigan, and we can all be part of the solution because it's happening right under our noses and we don't know what to look for to identify it and help law enforcement deal with this problem.
Yes, this is one of the stories that I am most compassionate about that we have showcased here on My Healthy Mind, because our guests are going to tell us from the front lines what it was like to be in it, and more importantly, what it's like to come out of it and triumph. And we'll have their stories right after this commercial.
One more hour burns, so scared of his return that I can't sleep tonight. In this hospital life,
we have 3 beautiful children, and everything you do or say to me, they take pictures with their minds, and I want to put a stop to that.
Sometimes I have thoughts of killing you. You know that?
Go ahead. You're doing me a favor.
Alex was the only one that knew the secrets.
Boy, why don't you leave that girl alone for you mess around and get her pregnant?
Why do you have so many boyfriends?
They all treat me nice. When they ever treated you to anything? Only time they come around here is when they want one thing.
No! No! You eat so damn much, why can't you choke on something? You're just a fat, disgusting excuse for a kid, and I ought to smack you!
I should have died instead. They were right.
No, you have. Life is worth living.
I have every type of abuse in there.
Yeah. Verbal, physical, sexual, mental.
You name it, it's in that room.
You see, after years of abuse, you lose yourself.
Miss Vivica. Miss Vivica.
Cause this time, it's the last time. I know that my eyes have seen too much. This nightmare is not fair, and I've had enough. You break me. Did you say you're sorry? You call this love, but this time your lies are not enough. This time.
I know you've been through some hell and high water, but I see a turnaround right now. You will be silent no more.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind, and we're joined with our special guest, Edee Franklin from Sanctum House. And today we're going to talk about human trafficking. And I can't believe that it's happening right here in our own backyard. And I'm glad that we're here to talk about it, because that's what we do on our show, is talk about it. And today is human trafficking.
Okay, it's a good topic to talk about. Everybody's talking about it now.
Yes. Edee, we're thrilled to have you here because you are founding a safe house for women who are survivors of human trafficking.
Yes.
Tell us how you got started with that.
Okay, it's an interesting story. My granddaughter and I like to watch a lot of criminal stories on television, and every time I saw a woman that was taken against her will, I would feel like there's something missing here, you know, and I come from a background of addiction, actually, and so I saw myself in all of these stories, and I've been in recovery for 27 years.
Beautiful.
And through my life, I do a lot of self-improvement, and I had to do a community project. So I realized that what was missing in our world right now are safe houses for human trafficking survivors. So I decided to create one.
Beautiful.
So I started, you know, looking around and getting knowledgeable about the topic, and started putting one together.
And you're saying that this trafficking is happening here in our own backyard, but it's not just drugs, or it's not just prostitution. It could be a number of things, right?
It's labor trafficking and sex exploitation. So it can be from migratory workers, it can be in your hair salons, nail salons, prostitutes, strippers. You know, it can be in a lot of different areas.
And it's really like modern day slavery, correct?
Well, that is what it is. Yeah. It is modern day slavery. And in today's world, I mean, it's a crazy number, but you can buy a slave for $90, and and a pimp can make up to $250,000 on an individual.
Wow, it's horrible. It's horrible, and it's happening everywhere. But it's sort of, we're shattering the silence here on My Healthy Mind. And so by you talking about it and you doing the trailblazing work that you're doing, you're shattering the silence because you're making people aware. And these women are so vulnerable because they may be addicted, they might have mental illness, they might have other issues that are trapping them in this world, correct?
Well, I think the thing is that we think it's happening over there, and it's happening over here. And we don't look beneath the surface. We don't see what's really going on all around us. We don't watch for the signs.
Yeah, because when I first heard human trafficking, I thought it was something that happens in Texas, not here.
Right. So we're going to hear more about how we can all become more aware after this next commercial break.
All right. Great.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
The people here actually care about you and your future and what you become after you graduate high school.
Loyola's mission is to turn out good young men.
Loyola is a place to help us grow. a smaller setting and more one-on-one.
Give you that one-on-one attention that you don't normally get.
Making sure that the student is taken care of spiritually, educationally, and physically.
I focus more at this school than I did all my other schools.
By the time they get to about the 10th or 11th grade, they're basically bonded like brothers.
If you're looking for a brotherly love or someone to lean on or get in touch with and talk to personally, this school is the perfect place to go.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. We're joined with Edee Franklin, and now we also are joined with Jane White from Michigan. She's the director of Michigan Human Trafficking Task Force. Welcome.
Thank you so much, because health is not necessarily that which we deal with, which we ought to. So it's really important that we're here.
We're thrilled that you're here. And Jane and the Michigan Task Force, you must have access to some statistics that tell us how prevalent human trafficking is. Can you give us some numbers?
I can tell you some rather alarming things. For instance, human trafficking is the third largest crime in the world. Not the first, not the second, but the third, which means it's immense. Secondly, we know there are more than 27 million people at any given time who are enslaved.
Oh my goodness.
Now that's what we can estimate.
And that's in America or worldwide?
That is worldwide. What we cannot estimate truly is the number of people who are enslaved in the state of Michigan or in any state or in any country, because we don't count cases.
What does that mean, that we don't count cases?
It means it is a crime that, while relatively old, it has been, as Edee has suggested, swept under the rug, and therefore numbers and systems have not been developed. Data collection has not been developed. So while people are very much on the front line trying to do this, and we can go, for instance, in this state, almost anywhere, urban or rural, and identify cases of human trafficking, we can't, nor can anyone give you exact numbers.
Well, I'm glad that you're here today, because on our show, it's a forum for talking about it, whatever it is, including human trafficking. And maybe this will be that catalyst to get those statistics going so that more people get behind it and we have a healthier society, as well as the individuals, because I'm sure it has to have a very, very lasting effect on the people who are victims of human trafficking.
The good news is that there is some research that is starting to come forward on the brain. And we now know, just as that research has been important for soldiers returning, we also know that the trauma that is induced from the slavery of people also has very long-term effects. For some, those impacts will never leave because there's no support services available for them. So research is also important for us to understand what the victim is, how they talk, what they do, how we identify.
So what is the task force doing to raise awareness, to help survivors? What do you do?
The task force has over 90 member agencies, federal, state, and local law enforcement, NGOs, victim service providers, doctors, nurses, teachers. It is a wide variety, and there are three essential kinds of things. Number one, the focus is awareness, that we need to make people understand. We need to understand not only at the people level education, city councils, government, labor kinds of things. The second one is to support prosecution, and that means we need to work with victims to get them through a very, very difficult time. And the third one that Edee is working so very hard on is to support victims in order to become survivors.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And are you finding it hard or easy to get partner agencies to help you with the mental health side of it, the physical health side of it, and I'm sure there's some substance abuse issues as well?
Well, every day I'm making phone calls, and people are willing, because people are willing more now because they're becoming more aware of it. They didn't even know it existed. So
let's hear more about that after the commercial break, so you can give us some more information on how we can all get involved to solve this terrible problem.
Terrific. Thanks.
You're welcome.
scared of his return that I can't sleep tonight in this hospital life.
We have 3 beautiful children, and everything you do or say to me, they take pictures with their minds, and I want to put a stop to that.
Sometimes I have thoughts of killing you. You know that?
Go ahead. You're doing me a favor.
Alex was the only one that knew the secrets.
Boy, why don't you leave that girl alone for you mess around and get her pregnant?
Why do you have so many boyfriends?
They all treat me nice. When they ever treated you to anything? Only time they come around here is when they want one thing.
No! No!
You eat so damn much, why can't you choke on something? You're just a fat, disgusting excuse for a kid, and I ought to smack you!
I should have died instead. They were right.
No, you have. Life is worth living.
I have every type of abuse in there.
Yeah. Verbal, physical, sexual, mental.
You name it, it's in that room.
You see, after years of abuse, you lose yourself.
Miss Vivica. Miss Vivica.
Cause this time, it's the last time. I know that my eyes have seen too much. This nightmare is not fair, and I've had enough. You break me. Did you say you're sorry? You call this love, but this time your lies are not enough. This time.
I know you've been through some hell and high water, but I see a turnaround right now. You will be silent no more.
Their girls are coming from all walks of life.
It's important to know what puts a youth at risk. The most vulnerable population to sex trafficking is the runaway youth. Any child in America at any given time can become a runaway and be exploited in a matter of hours. In fact, it's reported a youth is propositioned for sex within the first 48 hours of being on the street. But it's not only the runaway children who are vulnerable. Children who are victims of child abuse or witness domestic violence, those who are disconnected from their loved ones at home or having problems at school, they're at risk too. Children are vulnerable when their basic needs aren't being met. Needs like shelter and safety and acceptance and a sense of belonging. Children want to have a sense that they can do things well and be affirmed when they do things well.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind, where today we're shattering the silence about human trafficking. Jane, can you please tell us as ordinary citizens how we can be the eyes and ears to help women who might be stuck in human trafficking? What should we look for?
Community members are really important because half of all cases are reported by the community. And the community has access to how people live. And when in my neighborhood things appear to be different, for instance, when someone moves into the house with a large number of people, not related to one another, cars coming and going all hours of the day and the night. We've had so many documented cases in which children in the backyard have been cruelly tormented that even neighbors have seen this from their upstairs window but haven't thought it was interfering if they were talking. We know that. Domestic servitude, people agriculturally in fields where children are involved for long periods of time. The list goes on, and it is not normal. And most of all, my gut really tells me something's wrong. And it's okay to have it checked out.
And who do I call if I notice or suspect something? Do I call 911? 911
is an important number on an emergency situation. If it's not an emergency, then 888-3737. 888 is the federal hotline number. That's located in Washington, D.C. That call is trunked back to the state of Michigan in the appropriate jurisdiction for it to be investigated.
Okay. And then, Edee, what are you doing with Sanctum House, your safe house, to provide a safe space for survivors to heal?
Sanctum House is a 2-year treatment home, and where we take people from trauma and start to assess them as to what their trauma is and take them through complete development so that they, at the end, they end up with a job and a way to take care of themselves in a healthy manner.
And are you partnering with other agencies like mental health facilities, substance abuse facilities?
Correct. We're going to do all of that. We need people to help us with assessments, mental health, social workers, sociologists. We need people to come in and do drug testing to make sure we're in a drug-free facility. We're going to partner with vocational services so that everybody, if you ever come in with a certain skill after we assess what you like to do you want to be a cook? Do you want to be a seamstress? Do you want, whatever it is, that's the road we want. We want to take you where you're at, what you have your interest in, and help you develop.
Mm-hmm. And you're really helping women rebuild their lives from the ground up.
That's exactly what we're doing.
That's wonderful. And I know you've mentioned that there's a dearth of space. There's a lack of space for women to go to get this kind of help.
Well, that was one of the reasons that I wanted to start the Safe House. In Michigan, not to Michigan, nationally right now, there are 648 beds, well, as of 2012. So there might be another 100 across the entire nation designated for human trafficking survivors, okay?
That's it.
I mean, it's, you know, and there are beds, if they use crossover shelters, 2,100 beds in the entire nation.
Oh my gosh.
So there's not enough place for people to lay down once they get found.
And in the video, the people that were profiled are very, very young. So someone that is a survivor could still be underage, right?
There's no question that we have domestic sex trafficking, which is largely adolescents, minors, and that the vulnerable girl or boy, it doesn't matter which sex, certainly there are more girls than boys, but that is a tremendously vulnerable area, and unfortunately, what the option have been is to lock them up in detention. They are not criminals. They are victims.
I know we can go on and on about this. We really appreciate you guys being here. And we'll post your information on our website at myhealthymind.com. And you can tweet us at myhealthymind. But thank you guys so much for this compelling story.
Thank you so much for having us.
People here actually care about you and your future and what you become after you graduate high school.
Loyola's mission is to turn out good young men.
Loyola is a place to help us grow.
A smaller setting and more one-on-one.
Give you that one-on-one attention that you don't normally get.
Making sure that the student is taken care of spiritually, educationally, and physically.
I focus more at this school than I did all my other schools.
By the time they get to about the 10th or 11th grade, they're basically bonded like brothers.
If you're looking for a brotherly love or someone to lean on or get in touch with and talk to personally, this school is the perfect place to go.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. This is the segment of our show where we hear from our viewers. So let's talk about it. Elizabeth.
Yes.
The first question is, and it came in on our Twitter account.
Okay.
It says, I'm a guy, but I believe I'm suffering from bulimia. What should I do?
Wow, interesting. I'm so glad you asked because bulimia is typically associated with women and girls, and it's a disorder that causes people to eat compulsively until they're stuffed and then throw up or use laxatives or exercise a lot so they don't gain weight. There is help available, and I recommend that you go to our website, myhealthymind.com, where we list a variety of resources where you can seek counseling to stop having bulimia and live a healthier lifestyle. Michael, our next question comes from our Facebook page from a guy named John, and he wants to know how he can stop drinking and driving. He said he goes out with his friends, he has a great time, but he refuses to use a designated driver, but he knows he should.
The first thing I would recommend is that you really give some thought to driving under any kind of impairment or distraction. It's very unsafe for you as a driver and for the other people in our world. So what you can do, if you're a little self-conscious, you can purchase a device that goes on your smartphone. It's a breathalyzer. You can test yourself to know and affirm whether or not you should get behind the wheel before that tragedy happens. Okay, our next question is also from our Facebook, and it says, I believe that I was a victim of sexual assault, but I'm afraid to talk about it. Do you have any suggestions?
Absolutely. First, definitely contact the authorities and report what occurred. And also with that, you would get a medical exam so they can collect any kind of evidence that could be used in a prosecution. Secondly, it's very important to deal with the psychological trauma of sexual assault. And we have some resources on myhealthymind.com that can help you get that counseling that will help you heal. You can also go to your Department of Community Health website where they list some resources that can help you work through the trauma and heal.
Absolutely.
Michael, I have a question for you, and it's from a person named Shelley, and she's writing in on our website. She wants to know, how does she know if she's depressed? She feels really bad, she cries all the time, and she knows something is wrong. What should she do?
The first thing you want to do is reach out to somebody that gives you the avenue to talk about it. If you keep it bottled up inside, that's when it can get to be at a dangerous state and you can end up trying to hurt yourself or someone else. So reach out to a community mental health provider like Team Wellness Center, and you can call them at 313-396-5300.
Thank you, Michael. We want to hear from you. My Healthy Mind is your safe place where you can feel free to ask any question about any health topic that you've been afraid to ask because it's been taboo. So please hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook, and email us at our website, myhealthymind.com. We want to help you find the tools to heal in mind, body, and spirit and live your best life. So we will see you next week on My Healthy Mind.